Welcome to another OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. My name is Brandon Drum. I'm here with Parker Thune, and what a week it was for the University of Oklahoma football program on the recruiting trail, the transfer portal trail, if you will. And signing day was uneventful, but if you're an OU fan, that's the way you want it. I think February is going to be eventful, just with a couple of guys that they have still on the board that they're recruiting, according to not just what Brent Venables said during the presser, but what the players during our National Signing Day special said. Dalen Evans, Dominic McKinley, both 4 or 5-star defensive tackles. Oklahoma's in a good spot, apparently, for both of them, and things are starting to heat up there. We will see how that turns out. We'll discuss that. We'll discuss kind of a little bit more of the breakdown of National Signing Day. We'll discuss North Carolina, Oklahoma basketball, which we watched during the special. 18 turnovers will kill you. No matter how good a team you are, and they still had a chance to come back and win the ball game, even despite that. Shows you how good they are. And then we will discuss the bowl game and a whole lot more. I think we need to discuss Casey Thompson in the portal too. I think that has to be discussed. I mean,
let's start
almost,
there. Since
that's almost like burying the lead, right? At this point.
It sure is. I mean, that is the fresh piece of news. And obviously you're going to get that post early signing day lull where there's not a whole lot going on until everybody gets down to San Antonio for the bowl and the week starts to ramp up. But I'm glad folks remembered it because you didn't even need to toot your own horn on social media. There were several folks that took to Twitter to say, Brandon Drum said something about a veteran quarterback potentially getting in the portal a couple of weeks back and the potential for Oklahoma to spring there. And Casey Thompson, who has been approved for a 7th year of eligibility by the NCAA, is now in the transfer portal after 1 year at Florida Atlantic. And is it a surefire thing that he ends up at Oklahoma? No, not by any means. I imagine a guy as much experience as he has, there will be a market for his services. There will be other schools interested. Heck, I would think Nebraska would be quite interested given their quarterback situation right now, as well as their familiarity with Thompson. He spent the 2022 season there after transferring from Texas. But the opportunity to finally come home to the state of Oklahoma and wear the crimson and cream, which almost happened in 2018 and then almost happened in 2019 and then almost happened in 2022 and then almost happened in 2023. Casey Thompson in so many ways is the Sooner that never was. And now with his 7th year, he's got the opportunity to bring it all full circle.
This episode of the Under the Visor podcast is brought to you in part by HelloFresh. With HelloFresh, you get farm-fresh, pre-portioned ingredients and seasonal recipes delivered right to your doorstep. Skip trips to the grocery store and count on HelloFresh to make home cooking easy, fun, and affordable. That's why it's America's #1 meal kit. And folks, when you have a schedule as busy as mine, sometimes when it gets around to mealtime, you really have no desire to cook something from scratch that'll take an hour or two at the very least before you get to eat. HelloFresh makes things so easy. The recipe is right there in front of you. All the pre-portioned ingredients are right there in front of you, and cooking is a breeze in a matter of minutes. So make hosting this holiday a joy rather than a hassle with the help of HelloFresh Market. From crowd-pleasing charcuterie boards to photo-worthy desserts, it's easy to add these party pleasers to your weekly order, saving you so much time. HelloFresh has over 45 recipes and more than 100 seasonal add-ons to choose from every week, so it's easier than ever to find something everyone will enjoy. So go to HelloFresh.com/OUinsiderFree and use code OUinsiderFree for free breakfast for life. 1 breakfast item per box while your subscription is active. That's free breakfast for life at HelloFresh.com/OUinsiderFree with code OUinsiderFree. HelloFresh, America's #1 meal kit.
And it sounds like he's officially in the portal, by the way. I think he was last night. It moved quickly. He turned it in. So I guess I'll give the whole story to everybody. How about that? Let's dive into the whole story. So everybody kind of knows that his dad and I used to do radio together. So we've become really good friends. And he walked up to me at I want to say it was either the Carl Albert game, because it wasn't the night game. So he walked up to Carl Albert state title game. That was right, Parker. Was that where he was talking to me at? Right?
Yes, it was the Carl Albert game.
Carl Albert game. And said, "Hey, just want you to know we're kind of kicking around the tires, the idea of Casey getting in the portal. He would like to come home, but we know that's not a guarantee. So we're just kind of wanting to gauge, certain things here and there." And we discussed a lot. And at that juncture, I didn't think much of it, but I did come on here like literally 2 days later. And that's where I said there might be a experienced quarterback. So that was like 3 weeks ago or whatever, going into the portal. And then on top of that, he and I have continued to stay in discussion about where things were leading. He was waiting on Casey to get back to Oklahoma before they sat down and actually discussed how viable that possibility was. Fast forward to Wednesday night is when he went and told the FAU that, hey, I'm going to the portal. He met with Tom Herman Thursday morning, and they had told me the day before that they had told people and talked to compliance, and you watch the video that you've got to watch and yada, 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 all that stuff. They called me Thursday morning and said, hey, it's the meeting's happened. He's in, everything's good. So here's why they're entering the portal. He tore his ACL third game of the season last year. After that, he's been rehabbing, but, and this isn't a knock on FAU, it's not a knock on anybody. It's the haves and haves not in college football. Essentially, he wants to go to a place that he can quickly rehab. He can quickly he doesn't care about starting. Like that is one thing I think people need to understand. He doesn't care about starting. He doesn't care about getting a scholarship. He cares about going to a place that can PWO him, and he can be on the roster. He can be a security blanket. You're talking about a guy that's thrown for 5,400 yards and 52 touchdowns in his career. And mind you, he's only really played 2 full seasons without being injured. And in those 2 seasons, he was banged up a little bit and missed a game here or there. But the other 2 years that he played, or 3, he redshirted and he played 2 other years. And that was 2 years that he was completely banged up. He's never had a good offensive line ever in his whole career. And if you don't believe that, look what the worst D-line in OU history in 2022 did to Nebraska's offensive line.
Oof.
In Lincoln.
Yeah, that was brutality.
Yeah, Casey was on his back and got killed. He was sacked, 7 times? 6, 7 times that day?
It's also worth noting that if Muleshoe Lincoln Riley hadn't elected to swallow his pride and put in Caleb Williams in the 2021 Red River Shootout, that game isn't remembered as the Caleb Williams game. Brandon, that game's remembered as the Casey Thompson game. Yeah, he had 448 yards and 5 touchdowns that day. And you know what's crazy is we had Charles on this podcast the week leading up to that game, that matchup, as Casey was set to start for Texas. And he said, man, I hope Casey has the game of his life, and I hope Oklahoma beats him by 1 score. And that's exactly what happened.
It's exactly what happened.
Best case scenario for old Charles.
And that's the key. I want everybody to know, so if Oklahoma does kick the tires around there, that's the key. The key is he loves the University of Oklahoma. Yeah, he didn't go there for personal reasons, for career reasons early on, but the kid loves University of Oklahoma. Even during his time at Texas, this is going to shock some people. He was a fan of the University of Oklahoma outside of that day of the Red River. And it's because he comes from a family of nothing but OU grads. Obviously, his brother Kendall played there for 3.5 years, got his degree, was a grad transfer, went to Utah. His dad played at OU for 3 years. And we all know the situation that happened there, but the love for the university has always remained. And they're very excited about just the possibility of potentially being a Sooner and helping the university out. And look, I think Michael Hawkins is going to be an amazing quarterback. I think Brendan Zurbrugg is going to be an amazing quarterback. But at the end of the day, you're going to the SEC, Parker. You need to have somebody on that roster. It doesn't matter if he's second string, third string, fourth string, just somebody with a lot of experience, and that can be a leader in the room outside of Jackson. Because Jackson, this is going to be Jackson's going to go in there with just one start next year. And so he's going to have probably 25, 26 starts underneath his belt, if not more.
And the way I think the way to look at it here, Brandon, because so many people have taken to social media and the message boards and such to basically say, why on earth would you bring in Casey Thompson? 7th year, he ought to just go into the workforce. Like, why do you? Well, there are several reasons why you do this. And again, as you mentioned, you got 2 incoming freshman quarterbacks that are both superb in their own right. But let's just say worst comes to worst, and Jackson Arnold goes down with an injury next year. I would feel confident. I wouldn't be alarmed if it were either Michael Hawkins or Brendan Zurbrugg that had to take the reins of the Oklahoma offense. But do you want to put all your eggs in that basket? Do you want to basically, if your starter does go down, do you want to be in the situation where you have no choice but to hand the reins to a true freshman and trust that that's going to work out for however long it is until Arnold recovers? Right. And so if it's not costing you a scholarship to go and get a guy with a wealth of both P5 and G5 starting experience in Casey Thompson, a guy that you know you can hand the offense to, and the bus isn't going to drive off the road, then there's literally no downside. Once again, it's not costing you a scholarship. It is a 1-year rental in essence. You're not making a long-term commitment to the guy. You're basically saying, you know what? You're going to come in and you're going to be an insurance policy for 1 season. If we need you, we trust you. If we don't, guess what? He's done enough, Brandon, that he can go play professional football once his career's over, whether that's in the NFL or the XFL or the USF. Like, he has done enough at the collegiate level that he will be able to have a professional future. Tim Boyle started in an NFL game this year, so don't tell me I'm wrong on that either. Like, I don't know what his professional future looks like, but he's somebody that can have a professional future if he wants it.
Yeah, so you brought that up, so let's dive into that part of it. XFL teams have showed interest in Casey, strong interest, as a matter of fact. There's been a few that have reached out and said, look, they would be interested in drafting him early in the first round of the XFL draft and building their franchise around him. He has the film. He has everything you need out there. So that's not the end all here. The end all here is to maybe get into a pro day that all the scouts are going to be at, all 31 teams are going to be at. You want to be at a university that can house that type of interest into their pro day. OU, Nebraska, those type of programs will bring in that type of interest because they will have those type of players. On top of that, you know, he wants to be a coach at the end of the day. He's played in all 5 systems. And it's not like he's not because he's been at 3 different schools. He's played in all 5 systems because at multiple schools, he's at different OCs and different things that have happened there. So he's very, very smart. Like the mental part of the game is where Casey definitely excels. And that is where even I've talked to some coaches and around the country that have just said, look, if he was to choose, our school, heck yeah, if he doesn't go play professional ball, student assistant, the dude is a football savant. So like there's a lot of moving parts as to why this would work for OU, for Nebraska, for whatever program he ends up going to. And yes, I'm going to tell you all, OU is a viable choice here. So I want everybody to wrap their head around that. And we're not saying that's going to happen. We're telling you right now that is their first choice, is to come back home and to go to OU. And they're very open about it. They're not shy about that part. Now, is OU going to be all in? My sources say that there is going to be some interest there. It's finding how that works and getting the pieces moved in to make that work, or moved out, or, all of the above. So
2 ex-Longhorns in 2 straight years. How wild would that be too?
Oh, yeah, Brennan Thompson, and yeah.
Both Thompsons also.
Both Thompsons and both kids that wanted to be at OU to begin with out of high school, but things just didn't work out that way.
Mm-hmm.
How about that? Interesting how that works. It always comes full circle a little bit. All right. Excuse me. Let's move on to National Signing Day. That is the other big, because I think us talking about the 7 early enrollees is kind of underscoring the fact that they had to sign on Wednesday. So,
and they all did sign on Wednesday.
And they all did sign.
Nobody waited till February.
This episode of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast is brought to you in part by Manscaped. Step into 2024 with confidence thanks to Manscaped, where resolutions are met and hairs are neatly kept. As the new year approaches, why not make self-improvement a breeze with Manscaped's Performance Package 5.0 Ultra, featuring the powerhouse Lawnmower 5.0 Ultra. This next-gen trimmer ensures precision and ease when tackling your toughest hairs. It also includes the Weed Whacker 2.0 ear and nose hair trimmer and the essential aftercare products like the Crop Soother Ball Aftershave Lotion and Crop Preserver Anti-Chafing Ball Deodorant, as well as 2 free gifts, the Boxers 2.0 and the Shed 2.0 toiletry bag. Resolutions may come and go, but a well-groomed you is here to stay with Manscaped's latest and greatest. New year, new you, and definitely a new trimmer. Manscaped's got your grooming resolutions covered. So get 20% off and free shipping with the code OUInsider at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com when you use code OUInsider. Happy New Year to your balls.
Nobody waited till February. Well, we will discuss the February potential targets. We will discuss, I do not know how to say Anton Junjak.
Okay, so Michael Eugene Steele, the pronunciation authority, has rendered a verdict here. Based on his extensive research, it is Anton Junkaj. Anton Junkaj. We'll talk about that offer. The Albany defensive lineman, that is a dude. How do they keep doing it? They had like 3 dudes this year that had a total of probably 30 sacks between the 3 of them. And their quarterback too. Albany's quarterback is in the portal, and he's going to get G5 and P5 interest as well. I don't know anything.
Who is their D-line coach? Somebody hire the dude.
Well, I don't
Jared
know
anything
anything
now, these 3
about their staff. up there. I know absolutely nothing about the coaching staff at the University of Albany.
But you agree, right?
What-
Like, hire
what
that.
I-
Good God.
What I do know is, relative to the other FCS schools that are in their same competitive ballpark, they have produced a wealth of dudes in the last few years that have
Wild.
been ultimately become NFL caliber football players. Obviously, the most notable of which is Jared Verse, the outstanding defensive end at Florida State, who's going to be a first rounder in April.
Yeah, it is wild, dude, what they have just produced. Like, I keep seeing like Albany defensive lineman turn and they show their stats, and you're like, what? Like, what? I think it's because we're at Oklahoma and we haven't seen a defensive line like that in a while. That just seems foreign to us. No offense. I don't think. Now, here's the thing. Speaking of National Signing Day, them days are over. And they're over. They're coming to an end very quick. David Stone, Jaden Jackson, Nigel Smith, Wyatt Gilmore, Danny Okoye. What a defensive line haul that was. And I think we've talked about that enough. But have we talked about it enough? Like, we talked to them in person, a couple of them in person, 3 of them in person on Wednesday, which 2 of them just surprisingly walked through the door and like, hey, what's up? We're going to talk to you.
Yeah, we were not counting on Nigel and Jaden Jackson being there.
No, they were supposed to be through Zoom, and they just walked through the restaurant door like, hey, what's going on? I'm in town. David told us to come up here, so we're here. So, and it's just like, dadgum, man, that is a talent. And obviously Wyatt Gilmore, Nigel, and Jaden Jackson are already at OU working and will be there until, I believe, tomorrow, and they will fly home, do Christmas for a few days, and then they will go to San Antonio and do the practices with OU. So that's a really cool deal that's going on that Oklahoma's doing there. And that defensive line haul, they're confident. They said some things that kind of nails on the chalkboard a little bit, kind of scary, but
they put the bulletin board material out there, and we're not shy about doing it.
They weren't, and that was, an unfortunate thing that happened, but it's who they are. It's who those specifically who those 2
I mean,
are.
look, I don't think it's unfortunate. Is it something that, like,
it needs to be reined in a little bit? Yes.
Are there folks that probably think, okay, we do need to rein this in a little bit as far as the
I'm one of them. I hope they do rein it in.
As far as their willingness to go on the record and make comments like that. Yeah, you know what? I'm sure if those guys were 2 or 3 years older, they probably would have been a little bit more prudent in how they answered those questions. But again, like, that is why those guys have such an exciting future at the University of Oklahoma, because they carry themselves with such a swagger, right? And you saw that in the comments that David Stone made. You saw it in the comments that Danny Okoye made. And David Stone's comments to me about Missouri in particular, man, I think it's great that there's fuel on the fire for both of those programs heading into that game next year, because back in the summer when we were talking about that matchup between the Sooners and the Tigers up in Columbia, we were all treating that as the dud on the SEC schedule in year 1, right? Well, it ain't a dud anymore, because Missouri went and won 10 games, and now there are plenty of storylines come next November 9th.
Yeah, that one's going to be fun either way. Both teams are going to be good, and both teams are going to have players that have said things that are out there, whether it's a former OU player mocking the University of Oklahoma and calling these staffers a bunch of liars, which I thought was bold.
And maybe that was the onus for what David Stone said too.
Maybe yeah, that's kind of how I
looked saw at that
like,
comment, read into it what many other OU fans read, and decided, you know what? Screw it. I'm coming to the defense of my head coach. I'll fight fire with fire. Which, again, like, that's the 5-star, right? That is the leader of your
Mhm.
class in many ways. And
Yeah.
so if you're gonna go into battle with a fire under your belly, you want that guy to be on the front lines, and David Stone sure is.
The interesting part is there was like this narrative that David Stone almost flipped, which didn't happen. He was joking with people. He even came out and said, "Man, I was joking with everybody. I was going to Oklahoma." I thought the other interesting part is he said, "Look, I could have taken whatever from whoever in the NIL world, but I chose the University of Oklahoma because I love the University of Oklahoma. I've always loved the University of Oklahoma. That's where my heart's been." And I think the second he said that, every OU fan that saw that quote, saw him say that, instantly came up and was like, all right, that's our guy. That's our guy. So when we go back to our superlatives that, you know, and I said you could probably throw David Stone in every one of those superlatives if you wanted to. You could have. And it would have been okay. And be like David Stone, most exciting, David Stone, fan favorite, David Stone, blah, blah. Well, these are the reasons why. Not just his play on the field, but his personality. He is going to have a fun personality. This is going to be so back in 2017, you know what made that team fun? Even 2018 and 2019, what made those three teams fun? Outside of they were just good.
I was about to say I can think of many things. I really don't know.
They had
what
a lot
direction.
of swagger, man. They
did.
They said things. They did not care. They called themselves. I mean, you had Baker, you had Kyler with his swagger, you had CeeDee Lamb, Hollywood Brown, you had K9 looking over, like straight face. Why did you choose Oklahoma and not Texas? Because I like to win. Straight, didn't even change, and just stayed straight the whole way. Like those guys talked and they backed it up. And I think you're starting to get to that very quickly under Venables' era. That swagger is coming back, and it's because they have the talent. Like next year's team is going to be the most talented team since 2021, 2019, 2018, maybe.
Yeah, and look, you have to have a certain degree of confidence in order to play your best football, right? And to be honest with you, Brandon, I don't think confidence has been absent the last few years at Oklahoma, but I definitely think since 2019, when Kenneth Murray departed, we have not seen this team adopt the same air of confidence, at least not on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Ever since. Like there has not been a team since then that has been marked by that quality. You have seen it come out at times, right? You have seen it in spurts, but never has there been a team across 20, 21, 22, 23. None of those four teams you really regarded as the same in that aspect as their predecessors in 17, 18, 19, when obviously Oklahoma made 3 straight college football playoff runs.
No. Next year you're going to have, Danny Stutzman on the defense. He's going to put out the swagger that K9 had. Like you already see it happening. You saw it happen this year, but it was like a progression into that. He did not start with that swagger. He is going to start the 2024 season with that swagger. And the quarterback, I think Jackson Arnold just portrays that. That's just who he is. It's how he's always played. And without that, I don't think he is Jackson Arnold. He's a gunslinger because of his swagger and his confidence. Now, he's not going to go out and say a lot of things. He's not going to be Baker or anybody like that. And he might. I mean, I've seen him be pretty, I guess, what's the word I'm trying to think of here? I don't want to say it. It's more than outgoing in an interview. He's been pretty forthright, I guess, in interviews before. But at the end of the day, he's also pretty measured in how he answers questions. So he brings a pretty good balance. He brings a Jalen Hurts balance to it, I think, is how I would. But he's more talkative than Jalen. He's going to bring more than, 2-word answers. I will say Jalen Hurts, back to that 2019 team on the offense, he brought the swagger. I just harping back to the.
It was a quiet swagger, but a
It
swagger
was, but
nonetheless.
that's what I was getting at. I harping back to the Baylor game after they make that comeback, and he's staring at the student section,
Stone face.
just stares them down, stone cold, just stares them down because they talked to him the whole time. He stared at him, and he would look up at the scoreboard and stare back at him, and it was just like, what are you gonna do? What do you say to that? I mean, but that's who he was and who he still is in the NFL, and I think they're getting back to that. And I think it's going to be fun. That's why I'm more excited about this. I know it's exciting that they're going to the SEC, but I'm excited about the personalities on the team now and the talent, because there's some fun personalities that Oklahoma finally has. And when Oklahoma's good, Parker, think about the years that they've been good. In 2000, Torrance Marshall, dude was a personality. Josh Heupel was a personality. In 2008, DeMarco Murray was a personality. Their defensive guys, the Travis Wilsons, or Travis Lewis, excuse me, the Travis Lewises of the world, the Gerald McCoys of the world, like, they were personalities. And then in 2015 through 2017, Baker, all those guys on defense with Eric Stryker, Sanchez,
Oboe.
like those were personalities. When they're good, they have swagger, they have personality. That's just been the OUA dating back to the 80s with everything, and dating back to probably the 70s, honestly, when Barry took over. They just kind of adopted that. Bob took that. And it seems like Brent's taken a little bit of that, like that fiery personality, business-like, right? But he lets his players be themselves. And I think that's probably the coolest part about, I think that's probably the most underrated part about Brent Venables as a coach. It's his players can be themselves underneath him. You handle business, he don't care. You work, he don't care. You do you, as long as you're doing what you're supposed to do as a teammate on and off the field.
Yeah, and again, right, swagger doesn't always have to look like Baker Mayfield. It can also
No,
look
it doesn't.
like Jalen
No.
Hurts. And so,
Yep, exactly.
again, I don't think the swagger is going to be an issue with this group. I think Venables' effort and the staff's effort with these guys is just going to be to kind of curtail the expression of that swagger a little bit, because, yeah, like that's just the Venables way, right? Like,
yeah,
the way Venables carries himself reflects in the way that his teams carry themselves. And
correct.
so you want to have, like, the Jalen Hurts focused intensity is more of a hallmark in the current era of Oklahoma football than Baker waving his hands around and dancing, like that style, right? And so kind of reining it all in, like you said, is going to be the task and the mission for this staff, and making sure that, yeah, these guys continue to approach the game and approach their craft with confidence, but that they channel it in such a way as to walk more than they talk,
Yeah. And they will.
There has to be a ratio there. Now,
and they will.
Yeah. There are 7 members of Oklahoma's 2024 class that are not only early enrolling, but are going through bowl practices with the team right now. So the list is as follows. You have Michael Hawkins at quarterback. You have Xavier Robinson at running back. 3 defensive linemen in Nigel Smith, Wyatt Gilmore, and Jaden Jackson. And a pair of defensive backs in Eli Bowen and Jaden Hardy. So all 7 of those guys getting an early jump. I believe the Sooners only had 4 guys go through bowl practice last year with the team. It was LeBlanc, it was Makari Vickers, Chapman McCown. No, Makari Vickers didn't. Chapman McCown, Caleb Hicks, Derek LeBlanc, and there was somebody else for the life. Ashton Sanders. There you go. Champ Sanders was the 4th. So you get 7 of your 27 practicing with the team beginning yesterday. Good head start for those guys. 20 of the 27 are going to enroll in January and go through spring practice with the team. And this is kind of a trend that has taken root across college football. You get more guys signing early, get more guys enrolling early, more and more the elite of the elite are graduating high school a semester early in order to go through an extra spring with their college program of choice. But I will say Oklahoma is still somewhat ahead of the curve here in that you have an overwhelming majority of your class that is enrolling early. And when you look back to Wednesday, Brandon, every single one of your 27 signees had their letter of intent faxed in by 11 a.m. No drama whatsoever.
I mean, people were worried about Taylor, but it was, and like I said at the start of our live, and I'll say it again, and I'll even bring the reporter's name of I don't think it's fair for everybody to go dunk on James Hill because of that. The kid told him. He reported what the kid told him. That is not fair. Parker, you and I have been there. We've reported what the kid has told you, and it's
correct, right? Like, and
it's not fair.
No, like when people come at you and you're like, okay, well, like the kid told me X and then Y happened. What can you do about that, right? Like, end of the day, you couldn't have approached that situation any differently.
Yeah, no, and it is what it is. It was unfortunate for James because it just in the middle of the presser, Mike Hout goes, "You can now talk about Taylor Tatum. He's signed," and everybody looked around, going, "Oh no!" Like because we all felt for him at that point. Like that sucked. And so,
and look, as a reporter,
I would say this: the gifts and the photos, like there's some funny photos of us out there that we laugh about that people have made of us. Like they're funny.
Yeah, but as a reporter, Brandon, you're only as good as your sources are truthful. And there's no way to make people more truthful with you, right?
No.
Like, and so look,
I'm not calling the kid a liar. I think maybe he was
no.
Yeah, he was going to sign. I honestly believe this is what I believe, and I can't confirm this. This is what I believe, Parker. I believe he was going to sign his letter of intent with everybody at his school in February because he's not an early enrollee. I think that was a plan. I think Oklahoma said you can do that ceremoniously in February, but we need it now because we want all of our guys in together today. Yeah. And I think that's what happened.
Exactly. And yeah, look, this is not a profession where anybody is going to be right 100% of the time. And there are a variety of reasons for that. Not everybody understands the nuances of what we do. Not everybody is cognizant of it. And reporters end up taking a lot of heat when they are wrong on stuff. But once again, it's not always within your power to control. It's just
correct. I got to say something about Xavier Robinson. Yeah, the dude. We joke with each other like, "Hey, neighbor," all that stuff, because I can literally look out this window right here and see his house. But that dude has the biggest neck I've ever seen in my life. He does, man. That dude's neck is like that big, man. He's a big dude. He talked about it and how it all came about. He said COVID, he just kind of sprouted up. He weighed 195 pounds, and the next thing you know, he was 220. And he blames it on sitting around the house at COVID, but he's not fat. And I think that is kind of the misnomer with a lot of these bigger backs, like, oh, well, they're chunky. He's a big dude, but he is a lot of muscle, man. That dude, and he's powerful. He is. I put him down as a fan favorite because I'm telling everybody, I can already see. Parker, you probably can too. The writing on the wall when it's a fourth down, they're gonna bring that dude in there at Wildcat, just like Carl Albert does, and they need a 4th and 3. He's going to get it, and he's going to plow forward with his 235-pound body, 240-pound body as hard as he can and get those 3, 4, 5 yards needed. On the goal line, same thing. Gavin Sawchuk's going to be in there. He's going to take him all the way down, get at the 2. Here's going to be trotting out. The X Factor is what I've decided his nickname is going to be. because that's what he is. He's going to be the X factor on fourth down and goal line. That's what he is going to be, that power back for Oklahoma. And that's something they've missed. They had a little bit with Tawi, and Tawi may come back. I mean, that's something that still needs to be seen. He's practicing. I think he's going to play in the bowl game, correct?
He is.
There you go. So there's a possibility that Tawi gets put on scholarship and or gets more NIL and comes back and stays with the team. He's just testing the waters, checking things out, all that type of stuff right now. But he's going to be a more explosive Tawi Walker. And I think that's one thing we all can agree is Tawi is not the most explosive human being. Xavier can get you a 60-yard. He can break a 60-yarder. Like, he's got that breakaway kind of speed. He's a 4.6 guy. And if he does get caught, he can turn around and stiff arm the guy and just kind of throw him down. Like, that's because he's so long. Like, Tawi is what, 5'10", 5'9". They're a different type of power. Xavier Robinson is 6'3", 235 pounds. Like, that is a big dude. I'm 6'1", 230. Parker, you're 6'1", what, 200, 195?
190.
190. We're bigger guys. He makes us look small. So, I mean, that's a large human being carrying the rock for Oklahoma. I think that's one of the better gets that people aren't talking about in the recruiting class. And that's not a bias because I've known the kid forever or anything like that. But that's just, he's just a really good player. On top of that, getting in early, learning the scheme, getting the playbook with Nigel Smith, Jaden Robinson, Wyatt Gilmore. And then you saw what they look like next to the coaches. And let's put it this way. Like, Todd Bates and Miguel Chavis are not small human beings. Those are some big cats. And Nigel said he's 6'5", 260, which means come football season, he's going to be 6'5", 280. He's going to be playing the defensive end and the 3-tech. He's going to be playing the 4-eye, the 5, and 3-tech for Oklahoma. He's going to be nasty. And then you're probably going to, and obviously Jaden Robinson, 6'2". What is he, 300? 295, 300? Something like that. He's going to weigh like 310, 315 come football season. They're exactly what you need. Twitchy, rangy guys. And then obviously Wyatt Gilmore is like 225, 230, but he is going to be 250, 245 come football season. Just exactly what you want at certain at the weak side edge, right? Like, they're setting themselves up to be able to come in and play early by coming in and going through the bowl practices. Now, everybody wants to ask why David Stone's not doing that. Explain is what he told us is he wanted to, he tried, compliance wouldn't let it happen because of the NCAA rules, which makes sense. He's playing in the Under Armour game. He's playing in the Polynesian Bowl.
You forfeit the right to play in those games if you go through bowl practices.
Correct. And the reason he didn't forfeit the Polynesian Bowl, I asked him, I said, why didn't you just not go to the Polynesian Bowl? He said, well, because I want to go play with my buddy Jaden, because Jaden Jackson's going to go play in it. And number two, I promised my mom I would take her to Hawaii for that game, and it's all expenses paid by the bowl, all that type of stuff. Like, it's a free trip to Hawaii for his mother. It's kind of a gift to her because if you remember correctly, people, she was the one that was more hesitant about him coming to the University of Oklahoma than anybody else. She okayed it. So this is kind of a gift for David to take her to Hawaii. You cannot fault the kid for that at all. Like, it's trip to Hawaii. I want to go to Hawaii. I want to go with them. Parker, I think we should go cover that game. We got a couple guys down there, You think our wives the wives would hate us?
Probably so. Also, flights to Hawaii.
Babe, I'm going to work in Hawaii.
But Yeah, that's bucket list material. We'll get
Yeah,
out there
no
for the
doubt.
Polynesian Bowl someday.
Oh yeah, next time that there's like 4 or 5 guys, we'll just take everybody down there. That'll be fun. Anyways, let's talk about the bowl game a little bit. Arizona, Oklahoma, December 28th. What time's the kickoff? 6:30, right? 6:30 p.m. kick, correct?
At the Alamo Bowl, no, that it kicks off at 8:15.
8:15. Okay, I don't remember. I don't ever pay attention until it gets closer to the game time. 8:15 kick. I am really starting to like the way the roster is lining up for OU. Like there for a while, it looked like the offensive line could be a little rough, but now you look at it, and outside of the center position, which obviously is a big deal, right? It's the center position. You got Rouse at left tackle, you got Sexton at right tackle. Your left guard is who is a left guard? I forget now. I just went blank.
Left guard would be for this game. Shoot, I don't know, because you got Caden Green out of the picture, you got Savion Bird out of the picture. I guess Troy Everett, maybe
Troy Everett, maybe Jake Taylor.
Jake Taylor.
Mm-hmm. Either way,
That's
those
the
guys
big question mark is who plays
yeah,
left guard.
yeah. We all know center is going to be Joshua Bates, the former number 1 center in the country in the 2023 class, 4-star player out of high school. Even when you talk to people about Josh Bates, they're like, dude, he's barrel-chested guy, big body. Everybody kind of expected him to be the next guy at center.
You know what's funny is the last football game that Josh Bates played in
he broke his hand
at the Alamo Bowl, or the Alamo Dome, I suppose. But yeah, All-American Bowl back in January. He broke his hand that day and has not played since.
Third quarter. Yep, third quarter. I remember because he tried to keep playing on it and they wouldn't let him. They're like, no. And like from what he told me, he's like, he wanted to play on it, and I think OU was like, no, you're going to go get that fixed and put a cast on it. You're not going to do that. So, but anyways, yeah, the left guard I think is the only real, because you got right guard is going to be McCade Matoir. So they're pretty set at offensive line. The question marks will begin after that. The weird part is so Gino Vandemark and Fabici Nawawu, they visited. All things point to them being all but sure to OU, but there's been no announcement.
Well, they're holding out for more money.
They're really not, folks. I just wanted Parker don't do that.
Sarcasm.
I honestly think that they're waiting. I bet you they announce on Christmas.
If they announce on Christmas,
we already have it ready. So
well, yeah, yes, but even
just press
so.
publish, but still, but no, it's like there's going to be commits on Christmas.
I hope none that we have to cover.
No, I agree.
I am looking forward to kicking back that day and not doing much of anything.
Yeah, I gotta go Christmas shopping today. Today's Friday. I gotta go Christmas shopping today. I gotta go get my youngest is gonna go get we're getting him a phone. So that he's almost 9. So that's when we did it to my oldest. So that's kind of the rule in the house. You've got to be a second grader to get a phone, which sounds super weird, I know, but welcome to 2023. 2024 almost. Yeah. I didn't get it till I was 16, but that was in 1999.
Me too.
Yep. 1999. Yeah, but you were, whoa, really?
Yeah.
Really? So you were kind of the outcast in your age group then, huh? Because everybody had cell phones early then, didn't they?
Most did. I was later on the curve.
Yeah, yeah.
But
I was 16.
I didn't really
I was
need one
surprised.
until I was 16.
Yeah. I was surprised when I got one, honestly. I just remember my mom just called it from like the other room. And I was like, where's that coming from? What's that noise? And I had to go like search for it. It was like hidden in a plant. And I was like, oh, this is awesome. It's my cell phone. So love moms. All right, let's talk about Dalen Evans and Dominic McKinley.
Okay.
I don't really want to, but let's do it. Folks, here you go. It's happening again. OU is kicking the tires, more than kicking the tires, with Dominic McKinley, the elite 5-star defensive lineman. And I'm going to sit there and tell you all that they have a chance. I think Tennessee is making a strong push late. Texas is trying to make a push. He is not going to sign with A&M from everything I've been told. Like, he will not end up in Aggie. That's what I've been told by multiple people. Like, the expectation is that he doesn't end up in College Station. And that's from people in College Station. So, anyways, just don't get yourself worked up to the point that you think it's going to happen. I was asked this on our chat on VIP. So if you want to be OU Insider, remember, there's so much information flowing right now. Like, there's transfer stuff on our board. There's stuff that we haven't talked about at all on our board. Like, you can sign up right now, $9.95 a month, or you can do a whole year and you'll get the whole next season, plus the next signing day, all that type of stuff. Spring, champion barbecue, party in the palace, all the official visits, fall camp, SEC media day, the inaugural SEC season, the SEC title game if OU makes it, and national signing day for next year if you all sign up right now. It's easy. It's fun. There's thousands and thousands of members on there. It's great. The board is popping. But I was asked my percentage for Dominic McKinley, and I said 30%.
I think that's exactly
it's
what
about
I said
right.
too.
Yeah, 30%.
Somebody asked me the other day. I said, yeah, 30%. Because yes, I think you can count on him flipping. The question is, can you count on him flipping to Oklahoma? And that is where
the signees are confident.
And they are. And they like,
super
if
confident.
you listen to the last installment of the OU Insider Under the Visor podcast, we talked to Michael Boganowski, we talked to Wyatt Gilmore. Both of those guys were very, very confident that the power line was going to grow by February. So,
and then David Stone said it, and Nigel Smith came out and, without even being asked, he goes, "Yeah, we got a great defensive line class, and it's not done growing yet." And we were all like, that was unprovoked. And so we grilled him. He said, "I'm not going to name any names." But David Stone named the names in typical David Stone fashion. And
no, I think it was Okoye that said he wasn't going to name the names. And then
was it Okoye?
Yeah, Nigel came out and he said, yeah, Dalen Evans.
Oh, he said Dalen Evans. And then Dominic said Dominic McKinley and Dalen Evans. Yep. He said that we might have 2 additions. And we asked how good he feels. He goes, "Oh, we feel pretty good." Like that. I think that is interesting. Now, it also could be just signees talking, but
Sure.
But Nigel and David and Danny are really close with Dominic McKinley. Really close. They're all very close. That was kind of and if you remember correctly, David said we have something brewing on Twitter. I was told that was for multiple people, and I don't think one of them was Dalen Evans. And I'll leave it at that. So something tells me there's more to it.
And McKinley has January officials playing to LSU and Tennessee. So those are 2 new schools
Correct.
in the mix that you're going to have to fend off
LSU,
besides Texas.
And LSU, I would probably pin them the favorite right now.
Really?
I logistics, location, all that. But again, I think it comes back to mom, how comfortable she is with the LSU staff. And I don't think she's 100% comfortable yet from everything I've been told. We'll see. With Dalen Evans, I think it's a crapshoot, but I do think he eventually visits Oklahoma in January. No official date set up from what I'm being told. And when they do set that up, I think there's a good possibility. The cool thing is, I think they're going to wait and set that up for when all the players are back, like David Stone and all them. And I think they're Dominic McKinley, if I was a betting man, I bet he gets back to OU before he signs for a visit. That's just I'm just going off of my gut feeling. So if my gut feeling's wrong, oh well. My bet is they have a big junior day late for the 25 class, late in January, the final weekend before National Signing Day. And I will bet money if that will be the week that he would come if he was going to do it. If he doesn't already have an official setup that weekend. So if he has one set up, they'll have to have him come in early. But if I'm Oklahoma, that's where I try to get him to come in. So you get the last stab at him. You get him in front of Stone, McKinley, you get in front of Stone, Okoye, all those guys. So, all right, I think that can do it. We'll talk basketball in the next one. Obviously, they lost to North Carolina, 18 turnovers, all that type of stuff. They're still one of the top 10 teams in the country, bar none. So
yeah, without question. And Jesse and our guy Brody, who is just a pup, but knows his stuff as well as anybody. Those two have kept you covered all throughout the season on all things OU hoops and hoops recruiting. They're doing a new YouTube show on this channel called In the Paint that is worth the watch if you're keeping up to speed with OU hoops throughout this run that they've enjoyed to kick off the season. Year 3 under Porter Moser. And yeah, they didn't play well against North Carolina. Guess what? It's a third of the way through the season. They got stuff to figure out. So does everybody else. The ceiling is really, really, really high for this team, and I think they're going to make some noise when they get into Big 12 play.
It was a road game
about that,
and they almost came back and won. They were within 5 points with 2 minutes left, something to that extent. So, or 3, I think, can't remember. Yeah. Anyways, that is a great podcast. That is a great Jesse, Brody have been covering basketball. Been awesome. Again, you can go to OU Insider and you can see all that, or you can subscribe as well on here on this YouTube channel and be part of the other 14,000 plus that are getting updates every time we drop a video on here on the YouTube, or subscribe to our podcasts on whatever platform you like to listen to your podcasts. Again, $9.95 a month, $99.95 for a whole year. OU Insider, lots of news, lots of stuff going on there. There are thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of fans on there. And our board is always popping. There's always comments. You can start your own thread. You can start your own discussions. You don't have to just wait on us. Topics are variable. You can off-topic stuff. You can discuss. There's a big topic on Oklahoma City right now, and the new skyscrapers going on the board. So, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff. It's not just all OU all the time. So it's a different type of board, and we have fun with it. So you can come join us there. All right. That's going to do it for this version of the OU Insider Under the Visor Sooners podcast. For my man Parker Thune, my name is Brandon Drum. You guys have a blessed day.